Where is housing headed in 2022? Let's talk about interest rates, inventory, home prices, and my recommendations for what you should be doing in 2022. This is Shaheedah Hill, getting you over the hill to home ownership and helping you confidently buy your first home. So let's talk about first interest rates. Interest rates are expected to increase in 2022. So probably between 3.7% by the end of the year. Some people are even saying 4% by the end of the year, but they're definitely going to slowly creep up to the mid to high threes in 2022. And this is important for buyers because the higher the interest rate, the higher your mortgage payment. Now, is the interest rate going to pull back on some of the demand that is in the housing market? Right now, no. Let me give you this example of a house that is $250,000. If it's basically a difference between about $170 between what interest rates were probably in the last 6 months, is 2.75, and it being at 4%. A lot of people will still stay in the housing market even with this increase because the other alternative is renting, and rent has gone up as well. Some people even said there are bidding wars to get an apartment right now. So the alternative is not less expensive. So some people will still stay, the majority of buyers will still stay in the market as interest rates increase. And I did this video in 2019 telling people how to get their offer accepted, and interest rates were in the threes. So even then, it was very difficult for a lot of first-time home buyers to get their offers. It was nothing like after the pandemic, but it was still a challenge for first-time home buyers to get their offers accepted, and we were at 3% interest rates. So I don't think there's going to be that much pushback on demand even as interest rates rise, because buyers still want to be in a home. Next, let's talk about inventory. We will have the best gauge of inventory in 2022 in the spring. The biggest housing months for listings are, generally speaking, May and June. That's when most people list their properties for sale because they want to try to get out before the school year, when the school year ends, and be back in a home before the school year begins. So most people list their properties in May and June. So that's a time to see, okay, is inventory going to increase? Now, it is expected to increase. All the data says that it will increase, but will it increase as much as there is demand? They're saying no. Inventory would have to increase 50% from where it is now to make up for the demand in the housing market. So it's not expected to go up that 50%, but you should have a better opportunity to find a house in 2022 with less bidding wars. So bidding wars should decrease, inventory should increase, but you will still have competition for homes that a lot of people want. So you're talking about move-in ready homes, not homes that need a lot of repairs and that sort of thing. But if it's a move-in ready house in a good neighborhood, you will still have competition in spring of 2022. All right, let's talk about home prices. So on average, home prices are expected to increase about 5%. And that's typical of a normal market. In a normal market, at least since 1980, home prices have increased about 5% on average. So it's not going to be these 20% increases that we've seen since the pandemic. However, they are expected to increase, not decrease. Let me say that again. They are still expected on average to increase in price. So what do you have happening? You have your interest rate increasing, and you also have your housing price increasing. Although it's not going to be increasing as much as it has the last 2 years, it is still expected to increase. So let's talk about this. And I'm going to give you my recommendations for what you should be doing as a first-time home buyer. I really want to talk about why there hasn't been a crash, because a lot of people are like, these home prices are out of control, these bidding wars are out of control. Why hasn't there been a crash, and why I predict there still won't be a crash in 2022? First, There has not been these massive foreclosures that a lot of people predicted. It just did not happen, and it's not expected to happen in 2022. I'm going to put a lot of links in the description so you can read about where we are with forbearance and foreclosures. It didn't happen, and it's not expected to happen in 2022. Number two, millennials will make up 50% of the housing market in 2022, and they're ready to buy and they're willing to buy at these higher prices. A big segment of millennials are turning 30 in the next couple of years, and they want a house. So they're willing to move further out. They're willing to bid with you. They have a lot of money saved. A lot of them are in employment that allows them to be virtual workers. A lot of them are in tech. Some millennials are making more than other segments of the population, so they are able to afford some of these higher priced homes. Okay. Inventory, number three, inventory is still low. Like I said, inventory would have to increase 50%. And where's that inventory going to come from? It's not going to come from the average person. There are some baby boomers that are getting older, moving in with family, they're downsizing. Inventory may come up then. We have new construction. They have massive waiting lists in most new construction subdivisions waiting for people to buy those homes. So it's not going to happen generally in new construction. They have employment problems, employment shortages, they have supply shortages. So it probably won't get back to where it needs to be until 2023 as far as inventory. And even with inventory coming back to where it needs to be in 2023, it will lead to a balanced market, not a buyer's market. So we're going to go from a seller's market to a balanced market in 2023. However, home prices will remain at these all-time highs. These are the new home prices, okay? Also, unemployment claims are at all-time lows. If you've been in your major cities, in most areas, there are people begging for workers to come back. A lot of people are paying extra. They're being more lenient in what they're looking for. So if you want a job right now, you can find a job. It may not be your ideal job, but you can find employment if you need employment. And also the rental market. The rental market is just as high in a lot of areas as the housing market. So people, they're trying to make a choice whether they want a small apartment, because apartments are generally smaller, or if they want a house and maybe a yard and some space, they're going to go for the house. So if rent was drastically less expensive than housing, you would have a lot of first-time home buyers continuing to rent. And my last reason there hasn't been a crash is that Americans are sitting on $2.5 trillion in excess savings. They have this money, be it from the stimulus, they have this money because they didn't travel as much, they didn't spend it as much during the pandemic, and so they're sitting on this savings, and a lot of people are sitting on it trying to buy a house or sitting on it trying to buy, other things, but they have savings for that down payment. They have savings to buy that first house, and they're sitting on it just waiting for the opportunity to have enough inventory that they're able to purchase something. So what is my advice for first-time home buyers? I have three things that I want to talk about. Number one is stay in the hunt. I know it's very frustrating, but I want you to stay in the hunt. I want you to still be looking. Even if there's a few offers on a house, I want you to still make your offer, because a lot of times, I think because agents and buyers are in this mode that everything's going to have multiple offers. Everything, I'm going to be outbid. There'll be one house that doesn't have as many offers. There'll be one house where maybe they don't take your offer the first time, but the first offer falls through and then they pick your offer. So please stay in the hunt if you want to buy a house. Number two, be very practical about what you're going to buy in this market for your budget. Okay, you can always upgrade your fixtures, upgrade your flooring, paint the house. Those cosmetic things, I want you to overlook them and say, okay, how much would it cost me to make those things feel like my own? Because a lot of times we're looking at those superficial things, but the actual house is a great investment. You want to look past some of the paint. You want to look past against the flooring. Look past past those things. Look past the perfect house in your mind, and you can make it perfect for yourself. I also want you to look at moving further. If it was your dream to live in a certain area of town, and now that you've been priced out of that area, be willing to move further out to find what you want, because we don't know in the next 3, 4, or 5 years if you're going to even be able to live in that further area of town. Then you may have to go, a few more miles out, and you don't know where the housing market is going to be in the future. At least that's what's happening in Georgia. People are moving further out, and even the further out places where people said they would never move have gotten too expensive. And then number 3, just because I don't want you to wait on a crash. One thing I didn't do on YouTube when everybody else was doing like the Biden 25,000 proposal, I never did a video detailing that proposal, because I didn't want, especially first-time home buyers, to think this is what I need to buy a house. This is what I'm going to have to wait for. The waiting did not serve you well. It really didn't. We've been 2 years past the pandemic. I think going with this new variant and the booster shots and everything, Americans are going to have to learn to live with some sort of or some variant of the coronavirus. So I think that waiting did not serve most people well. People that were waiting on the sidelines, now you're having to pay a lot more, not only in price, but also in interest rate. So I don't want you to wait on a crash. I don't want you to wait on any special programs. There are legitimate first-time homebuyer programs. I've done videos, down payment assistance. I've done videos on NACA. I've done videos on Chenoa. All the programs that have always been available to you are still available to you if you need down payment assistance. So don't wait on any Biden proposal or Biden plan. Do what's best for you. Make sure you still stay under 30% of your take-home pay, but make home ownership happen for you and be able to stabilize your expenses for the long term. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to even more videos in 2022.